I was a boy, everybody knew what a downwinder was. We were the anti-nuclear capital of the world. I was an autistic kid. My father was a drafted United States Marine, an incredible man. I come from an incredible family. My uncle stood on Omaha Beach on D-Day. I grew up on a huge ranch out by the lake. He was a beautiful, incredible person. He was at Pendleton, combat ready, and they were human guinea pig. They were marched into the trenches in Nevada. They're called atomic veterans. He nearly died at the blast. Between 1951 and 1968, we had 300 open-air tests. Well, as different scientists started to write about this, Wallace Stegner was at the University of Utah at the time. I got to know him. Edward Abbey was hanging around there. I got to know him. I got to know all these environmentalists, and I was an environmentalist, and it was a passionate, intense subject matter there.
All nuclear fighters, all hands on deck, all hands on deck, all hands on deck. All nuclear fighters, all hands on deck, all hands on deck, all hands on deck. They'll be calling you a radical. Bloomgate, 311, whatever you want to call it. I call it Pacific genocide, whatever. It's fucking giant conspiratorial across all demographics. All nuclear fighters, all hands on deck, all hands on deck, all hands on deck. They'll be calling you a radical. All nuclear fighters, all hands on deck, all hands on deck, all hands on deck. Bloomgate, 311, whatever you want to call it. I call it Pacific genocide, whatever. It's fucking giant conspiratorial across all demographics. They'll be calling you a radical. May God have mercy on all of your souls.
Nuclear power was evolving. We were promised, oh, this can't happen. It will never happen. We cannot have a meltdown.
Well, good morning, Sheep America, Ignorant America. Finally, after all these years, we're finally having a conversation about nuclear waste. Little too late. Little too late. I see this morning that this group was called out calling themselves the Fukushima Freeways. Really? Really? And trying to block Yucca Mountain. I want to tell every single anti-nuclear activist out there, any environmentalist, any human rights activist, you showed up to that fight 40 years late. That fight's over. We lost. Got the shit kicked out of us. They haul nuclear waste on freeways all day, every day. All over. Planes, trains, automobiles. It's everywhere. I've caught them on video multiple times. Everybody knows it. They'll admit it freely. Nuclear waste, instead of putting it in Yucca Mountain, they've got it in 252 different spots. I was out in Nevada, on my way to San Onofre, in the middle of the desert. Sorry about the radio, had internet problems, have camera problems, have car problems. I mean, you name it. It's what I'm up against. It's amazing. It is amazing to me how wow. Anybody who fights anything logically and reasonably, they get nowhere in this country. I mean, it's so illogical, the arguments we have. I'm going to stand out at Yucca Mountain and block Yucca Mountain. Go for it. More power to you. That conversation in the 70s. In the 70s. We had it won. This thing was over. It's so illogical, the conversations we had. What, Peter Pan going to handle it? The Easter Bunny? And then you hear, it's kind of like cancer. Oh, there's cure for cancers. No, there's not. People die of cancer a day. You know how people with a lot of money die of cancer a day? It's a cancer epidemic. It's like, oh, they got these new reactors. They got revivification. No, they don't. Oh, they got ways to clean up Fukushima with nanotechnology. No, they don't. And I'll hear you. This is a fact, what they did with the spent fuel rods from Unit 4. And I know this for a fact, and I can prove it. They dumped them in the ocean. That's simple. The giant spent fuel cooling pool, the Pacific Ocean, is there. It's been the DOE's freaking spent fuel pool for freaking decades. Having these arguments. Look, Yucca Mountain, bad idea? Of course it's a bad idea. I'll tell you the real bad idea. Making more. So, and I hear activists, even Plowshares, even Megan Rice, even her, I've heard them say that they're anti-bomb, yet they're not anti-nuclear energy. And I'm like, what? They're the same thing. Hello? You continue to make more. So we have 252 ticking time bombs in the United States. Well, one of them blew up in there. I was out there. All over. I mean, all they do is lie. Everybody out there knows, by the way. By the way, right down the road, right there on the same road, is the brothel where Odom was at. I mean, you'll listen to that. Oh, Odom, going to die. Spent $75,000. I don't think that's even possible in that dump. I don't think anybody could spend $75,000 in one of those that sleazy ass joint if they wanted to. I don't think it's possible. It's either one thing, it's lying propaganda by the media, or he got robbed. I don't know. Who knows what the case is, but they're blowing up the one in St. Louis. The fire, at the West Lake, here's the thing. How is it possible the county commissioners and state regulators and federal regulators and developers were able to build subdivisions around that thing? Missouri has full disclosure laws. Utah has full disclosure laws. Everybody has full disclosure laws. So line up the lawsuits. Well, we know how that goes. You line up the lawsuits, and they go on for 20, 30 years. You're dead by the time it goes. Think about it. The decision at the General Electric, the Sailors versus TEPCO versus General Electric, she ruled that thing went forward on August 25th, 2014. Now, exactly 1 year ago today, and I'm going to repost this video over and over every year, on the 27th of October, Cuban Missile Crisis Day, 1962. But last year, 2014, we were at the Omni Spawn Hotel. That's where Tiger plays, Elite. Now think about this. The PG&E, the California Commission, has formed another commission. Now think about who's on the commission. You know what they're paying this guy? Supposable PhD. Wow, what a joke. That's all California ever does. That's all the nuclear industry. That's all American public does. The American baby boomer kicks the can on everything. Let's see, the interest rate been zero for how many years? 15? You seen the debt? Pass it on. Pass it on. Nuclear waste? Pass it on. This is the generation that refuses to deal with anything. They refuse. So that's what they're doing. So they form another commission. I'll repost this video again today. And I told them I've been listening to the same conversation in the same place in Carlsbad since the 60s. Since the 60s. The same debate, and that's one of the great costs of nuclear is exactly this. The debating society we have over the waste. The nuclear energy takes anywhere from 3 to 10 times the power they produce to make. You think that's impossible? No, it's not impossible. It's a fact. It's facts. How does they do that? Price Anderson. You, the taxpayer. You, the taxpayer, pay for it all. 100%. It's called Price Anderson's Congressional Act. Through the UN, the IAEA. Hijacked the UN. They have veto power over the UN. So it's all the world's money. They have all the money. It's there to make nuclear waste. Why? Because nuclear waste is worth a lot of money. Been commercialized, which that's against the law to commercialize nuclear waste, but they did it. They're basing it in Idaho, they're basing it in Utah, they're basing it in Kazakhstan where the deer and the antelope used to play. That's what they're up to. So nuclear waste is big money. As I've named it plutonium wars. Now don't you love it? There's reports all over the United States sending a carrier in where China's building up their islands. Now think about that. We're the ones that are empowering China. All these Chinese businessmen, for the most part, are American citizens, United States citizens. All they did was take their corporations and their freaking exploiters and just gutted labor here and moved it over there. GM, Caterpillar, Apple, all of them. Tim Cook lives here. He claims American citizenship. All these guys claim American citizenship. So who's really empowering the Chinese? Well, and it's not the Chinese people. They're being enslaved, executed. I mean, the atrocities go over there on a daily basis are so over the top. Communist China, I don't know what you call it anymore. Neo-feudalism, the whole world, it's back. Putin's house, you seen Putin's house? He spent $1 billion on? His net worth, they're estimated at 40 to 60 billion. The distribution to the new czar, the distribution to the top in Russia is all the way back. All the way back to the czars. All the way back. The United States redistribution of wealth, the greatest in human history, the greatest class war ever waged on any human beings in the history of mankind, was waged from the top down. It trickled down. The redistribution of wealth went up and impoverished this nation. Class warfare on Balco. The greatest class warfare ever waged in the history of humanity has been waged on the United States, 1980 to present. Waged. And they won. Nuclear waste, the debate. Not on the freeways. Over. They won. All these things. We lost. Hello, environmentalists, we lost every battle we fought. Every battle. We lost. We gotta just face it. You know, so it's a horrible thing what happened. All that nuclear waste built up. For instance, San Onofre. So I'm down there, not on the beach. Okay, look, that video I did says it all in the hearing. So you were at the spot. Now think about this. This is on the taxpayer's dime. We're at the Omni Spawn Hotel Resort on the taxpayer's dime. It's $400 a night there. You know, we found a room on Priceline, cheap. Lonnie did, you know, so, but when I was there, and then I said, well, I'll go have a beer. I really did. I shot video of it. I'm in there with these guys. They didn't bring just one or two people because they're like, hey, this is how it works. Academia works this way. Serfdom works this way. Hey, get this. The San Onofre decommission hearing is going to be in Carlsbad. And you're going to get free rooms at the, you know, that's where Tiger's Golf Course is. And the kids can freaking go to SeaWorld on the taxpayer's time. So bring the whole family. Everybody wants to go. Let's bring the economists. I mean, all of them. They had them lined up 50 deep, 100 deep, and all the families there for a week. $400 a night room. Why don't they just be at the public library? Or be at some public facility? Because there's no accountability. There's no grassrooters with any logic. I mean, the grassrooters and the activists, I mean, there's grassrooters that have logic, our group. But the ones I know that pop this fight, I mean, it's like Cape Cod up there. And by the way, Cape Cod, do they think they got shut down? Pilgrim, they're full of shit. The economics of the situation shut down Pilgrim, and I can really dive into that. They had nothing to do with shutting it down. And then they come out and put out that bullshit. I mean, you read what they said. What is the matter with you people? You guys late to this game, or you just lost your minds? You illogical, or you just forget about these fights and these wars and this mass murdering complex. Nuclear industry's killed billions of people, not millions, billions. And will kill for time and all. It's killing the Pacific Ocean. Pacific Ocean dying right in your face. Fukushima, all they've done with Fukushima is dump it in the Pacific Ocean for nearly 1,700 days. That's all they've done. That's all they're going to do. They don't care. They're that arrogant. They don't care. That's their answer. Take all the people and dump them to the bottom of the sea before some fool come around here and want to shoot either you or me. That's Leonard Skinner, Mr. 38 Special. Don't you let out they captured that? Oh, you know, they're all about guns, or Leonard Skinner. We're going to show up and go see Leonard Skinner. Oh, we're going to their concert. Well, not one single one of them has anything to do with Leonard Skinner. You go see a name. That's America, you know. Mr. 38 Special. You got a barrel that's blue and cold. You ain't good for nothing but put a man 6 feet in a hole. You know, it's amazing how they capture everything and anything, and you go along with it. You know, it's like, who was playing? The Doobie Brothers were playing here not long ago. And I'm like, really? There ain't one single person of these Doobie Brothers. Not one. You know, so why didn't you go see them when they were out there, when they were new? You know, it's all these overgrown baby boomers who think, I don't know what they did when they was kids, but they missed out, I guess, so they think they're going to recapture. You can't recapture it. It's like the nuclear fight. You can't go back and refight it. Fight's over. The nuclear waste is on the freeways all day, every day. It's in train cars. It's in hooks and crannies. By the way, Peterson's container right here, I know Peterson. Right here, that's where they make the containers of blue. I'm the guy that announced it with from the place where it happened, where they made them. I'm the guy that announced that to the world. When they said the sulfide, they're lying, blown up. I'm the guy that announced first called the freaking news reporter down there. I talked to him multiple times. I'm all over this. You know, I'm the guy that reported that the dishes how many miles away were picking up plutonium and then they were lying. These things are everywhere. That one that's going up there, look, I work with an autistic young man who lives in Mesquite. Right there where Bundy free ranges his cattle. The pedophiles, the mooches. Who the mooches free range their cattle there. During the 50s, in the Nevada test site, and all the experimentation was going over there, they just took it out in barrels and trucks and just go over there and just dump it. There was nobody out there. There was nothing there. So this autistic young man, he ain't even that young, he goes all over out there. And he has trouble communicating. He's really autistic, not this fake, freaking, overdiagnosed autistic. The real ones. And by the way, my PhD, which is the greatest PhD in human history that I did over the last several years, proves that autism is nuclear fallout. It's unarguable. Autism is nuclear fallout. Period, period, period. It's unarguable. It's that simple. So he goes all over and he takes photographs. I've done it. It's all over out there. It's just laying in barrels. They didn't even bother burying it. Sometimes, like this place, all they did was dig a hole and put it in the ground. That's all. It's everywhere like that. The same thing in St. Louis. You think the mound has a containment liner? So the mound, obviously, they just put it in barrels. The barrels rust out, it leaches into the aquifer, into the irrigation, into the water. So the fire, saying it's going to get there, it's already there. You know, it's like everybody's doom, boom, boom, what's going to happen, could happen, what happened. That's all we ever hear. What already happened. The dollar's going to crash when the dollar crashed in 2003. You know, all these things, the economy's going to crash when the economy already crashed. Good. Inflation already happened. You know, the nuclear 3/11/11 already happened. Our greatest fears. The nuclear waste, we got to stop it from being all over. It's already all over the freeways. It's everywhere. And Fukushima is everywhere. So now they're coming out with the propaganda and saying, oh, one guy they've admitted got cancer. When we know there's been thousands of the workers die. Thousands. We know the head of the Fukushima 50 died on July 6th or 7th, 2013 of esophagus cancer. Many of them have died of cancer. This waste is everywhere. I worked on my PhD in the 90s, and I came up with the number of 252, which that number's probably low. I mean, all these military bases, they're nuclear waste sites. So as you watch, I'll repost this video again today, and it's important that you watch. You know, I'll shoot another one too. It's really important that you watch it. It says it all in that little clip inside that hearing. The NRC will tell you, and they're corrupt. Do not kid yourself. They're very corrupt. What government agency isn't corrupt? What academia isn't corrupt? I mean, I was in the university yesterday, and they got SaintCon. I mean, it's Mormon Inc., Universities Inc., state-funded universities. Everybody's got their hands in the serfdom pie. Taxpayers' off-property value tax is going up, and nobody works, nobody does anything. There's no accountability because this is our generation. It's a cultural dynamic that is sickening. Nobody deals with any reality in their fake facades in their house, their own personal Ponzi scheme they built. You know, they just, you know, go, I guess, just, you know, free money, you know, buddies, you know, just build another house, build in their personal Ponzi scheme. Oh, it'll crash. The only thing that hasn't really blown up yet is the housing bubble. So these nuclear waste dumps, I'm all over through there. I can show you all kinds of them. I know literally hundreds of places in Nevada and in Utah where it's just dumped. So he takes photographs all there. I've shown you guys video of cows drinking the wastewater coming out of the Energy Solutions burn facility. Showed you them. But I mean, you don't care. Showed nuclear waste being run on the freeways, right in there. Energy Solutions hauling a hot reactor from South Carolina, their spot in South Carolina, to here in Utah. All the way across country, on the freeways, uncovered. Videoed it, showed it to you. Sent it to media. Media doesn't care. They don't care. It's that arrogant. Because it'll never happen to me. Oh, I won't get, oh, isn't that sad? Anybody's fighting cancer, look at the way they are. People treat them like, oh, God, you know, and it's all, oh, and they're so sad as long as they don't fight back. As long as they just curl up and say, oh, you know, and then people love them. Until they die. You know, and then it's like, it's, you know, they're forgotten. Not me, I don't forget them. But it's somebody who survives cancer, oh, they hate those people. And they're so arrogant and egotistical that they don't believe it'll happen to them. Right when it's happened to their loved ones, right? It's going to happen to all of us. I mean, this place is radiated. It's American toxic now. Fukushima hammered this place. Look, it doesn't really matter if it goes in the jet stream or the ocean. The storms rise up over the Pacific Ocean. The marine layer rolls into California. It doesn't matter if you're California or New York, same amount of radiation. In fact, the Midwest even got more because of the fire, in the acute situation. Our readings all went crazy. Well, that confirms what's going on. The Westlake fire is burning into the dump now. Why do you think we're getting those high spikes and then riding it? They just crash it and they just lie, just raise the freaking legal limits over and over and over and over, and you sheep just go along with it. No testing. These radicals inside Congress, my God, Congress is insane. But only Congress can make law, and it is representative government. Do not kid yourself. Look, it's like right here in Utah. People say, oh, I hate the government, I hate the government, and then I'll ask them who's their congressman. They don't even know who it is. They're ignorant, just like their representative. What is George Carlin? When you have ignorant masses and an ignorant population, you're going to elect ignorant leaders. Somebody sent me a quote of Plato, talking about if you could see through the lies of your culture at the time, no one's going to listen to you, no one's going to believe you. Cassandra on Balco. This is right in your face. Stick your waste is everywhere. You've had 40 years old. They're just going to come up with re-verification. They're going to come up with this. They got this new. They got nothing. Einstein said it clear back in the 50s. They've taken the science as far as it will ever go. The science on nuclear peaked in the 50s. They've never come up with one thing since. Not one thing since. Because they took it as far as it can go. It's like, okay, you throw a rock, and the rock goes up in the air and hits the ground, the theory of relativity. Well, you're going to change that? You're going to change. You throw a rock, it goes in the air and comes down. MC squared. People don't know what the C is. It's Latin for speed. So they took it as far as it can go. You can't change it. That's as far as it goes. There's going to be no rectification. There's going to be no thorium reactors. There's going to be no nothing. It's the same old, same old. It's just spin. It's dogma. It's denial. Mass murder. So these things, the NRC will say, well, the American public refuses it. And I've been in D.C. at the congressional hearings. I've been there. We'll have a congressman, he'll call for a hearing on the nuclear waste. The last one they had, 2 congressmen sponsored it. On the floor, they had nice signs. It was well put together. No one's there. No media shows up. No activists show up. No freaking nobody shows up. Where's Greenpeace? Because Greenpeace is pro-nuclear. They got bought out a long time ago. Again, search them. It's all about the money. People have traded in health for money. It's that simple. Ask Steve Chinese Jobs. Ask Jamie Dimon. Ask Lloyd Blankfein. Ask them all. They've all tried. I think it's, and I'm going to talk about this today. Blankfein comes out, it's just lymphoma. Highly treatable. It's just Hodgkin's lymphoma. Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma is an evil killer, but so is Hodgkin's lymphoma. Skip Sanders, the ex-coach and GM of the Minnesota Timberwolves, had plenty of money. He had an NBA contract coaching, making millions of years. He makes millions and millions, sports surfing. There's big money in them slave leagues they get from the college. He had access the Mayo Clinic right there. He died of Hodgkin's lymphoma a couple days ago, 60. Jamie Dimon's got it. It's the arrogant. You have heard one thing from him? You heard one, he come out and says, it's in my lymph nodes, but it ain't nothing. We haven't heard anything. Just like when I try to cover City of John, it doesn't matter. Mellon died of this. I can go on and on and on and on. Our hospital, some of the richest people in the world, they come in. And the thing is they don't do well. Rich people do not do well, these types of people. Because they're used to paying somebody to do everything, so they think they can pay somebody to fight cancer. It's a brutal disease. And it's unarguable that nuclear fallout causes it, and it's everywhere. And the answer in the United States, Marie Antoinette, let them eat yellow cake, everybody. The answer, what's the answer? There is no answer. Like I said yesterday, put up that video, there's no caboose. It goes on and on and on and on. So Vandenberg sent off a Minuteman a few days ago. I know what's going on. Vandenberg. By the way, the only place you can see the good ecology of the shorebirds is right next to Vandenberg. You go from Pismo and you saw the dead birds right there, but you get down as you head towards Vandenberg because it's all sealed off. And the dog walkers and the cartoon characters, they dress up on their four-wheelers and go around the beach, and you'll have some kind of bizarro freak show. They dress up like freaks and act like they're some kind of cartoon characters or some old Western movie. They block them out of there. So that's the only place the shorebirds do well because there's not people putting the pressure on them. So they've been testing, re-entering Minutemans. that can cycle. Shoot it up, come back. Load it up, shoot it up, come back. Load it up, shoot it up. That's what's going to happen. Look, you can argue with me all you want, all you people out there. I know things that other people don't know because I have relationships with inside the NRC and PG&E because I deal with them, I talk to them, I drink beer with them, I have coffee with them. I've been at this a very, very, very long time. They know me. They know me. That we know the dynamics of brew. They know the nuclear industry holds all the power. General Electric, these corporations have all the money. They have all the power. They know the waste power. And the NRC will tell you straight up. Now, the NRC, your nuclear Round Juniors, are corrupt. They're corrupt as hell. They'll tell you, we were never set up to handle nuclear waste. And the American public refuses. And it's true. The American public just refuses. So now you hear them. I hear people that are good activists. All stand at Yucca Mountain blocking. Go for it. I mean, more power to you. That's your First Amendment right. But that argument you should have been doing that 40 years ago. Which we all were. So I met Megan Rice laying down there. Her mom, by the way, her mom was not pro-nuclear energy. And plowshares needs to pull their head out of their ass. And every ICANN needs to pull their head out of their ass. Helen knows. Helen Caldecott knows. She knows. She's been a great activist, but, she's about the money. And so that's why she wouldn't let us use the F word, Fukushima. That's the F word. I'm telling you, she wouldn't let us use it disposing. Scares our investors. Not my words, hers. Greenpeace says the same thing. More power to Helen. She did her work. More power to her. She's got the right to do anything she wants. More power to her. She did a lot of incredible work. But Busby, did loot the ocean. Gunner just shows up, Blue Castle. Matt Hill, come on, Matt. God, I do all the dirty work. I really am tired of doing all the dirty work. I'll tell you that. The place I put myself in and the freaking vulnerability that I put in, why I'm sick and everything and I do all the dirty work. Why? So I can try to save humanity? Reach into the bag? I could be David? What? I have grandkids. I have children. What? I'm going to lay down my life for a bunch of people who don't give a damn about me, don't give a shit about the environment, to refuse to defend themselves in a logical way? Well, I guess it's my place. So, you can see, have you ever read Hamlet? Oh, boy. Oh, boy, is this Hamlet on Balco. I'm the country and western version of Hamlet. I tell everybody, and I'm from Denmark. I've been at the castle. I did those videos. Something rotten in the new Denmark. It's the same thing. My father, they dumped poison in his ear. The Nevada test site in 51. Blew the hell out of me. Right next to the blast. The very first group. They killed a lot of them right there at the blast. All woke up in hospitals with amnesia, fed them LDSC, cut their tonsils out, human lab writing. I'll tell you how bad the human lab writing is. It's a fact. Did you know, in the state of Washington, Hanford, did you know they were taking plutonium water from Hanford and dipping inmates' testicles in it? For real. I mean, all these studies are out there, and then people say, I never heard it. It's like I listened to this woman at Berkeley, those rats. At Berkeley, there's a guy speaking at the university at the LDS Mormon Institute today who claims he's a freaking environmentalist, who's a pro-nuclear rat. He's going to get an earful from me today. She teaches the J. Robert Oppenheimer Foundation. By the way, how can they even have a J. Robert Oppenheimer Foundation after what Berkeley did to him? I mean, they tarnished him, ripped him apart, destroyed him, slandered him in every way. They cut him up every way, which way but loose. And they got the balls? He hated those people with a deep-rooted passion. He was a peace activist. Teller took the field. Where's your Teller Institute? That fat creep. Teller hasn't been dead that long. I got into it with her. She stands there and she's going on this freaking rant about freaking J. Robert and his foundation, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, he was a peace activist. He hated you people. He didn't want to drop the bomb. He backed out. You got rid of him because he wouldn't go this propaganda skull and balls bullshit. So let's get rid of Wallace after 3 terms? How did that happen? They get rid of Wallace? And that leads me into Yoko and freaking Hillary. And don't get me wrong, I'm not anti-Yoko, but I am. She's head of the MoMA, by the way. She's on the board. She's running the show at the moment. She's a so-called artist now at all the museums across. And boy, do I got the freaking San Francisco MoMA by the freaking nuts now. And I'm going to, when I'm done with them, I'm going to expose those freaking rats so hardcore. Look, now Yoko comes out yesterday. She's in L.A., or in California, excuse me. I believe she's in San Francisco. dropping off, something, and says that, oh, yeah, me and Hillary had an affair in the 70s. What? 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 How would her and Hillary know each other? Oh, they're dads. Hillary at Yale, Skull and Bones. Hillary's probably not even a woman. The marriage of convenience that was arranged at Skull and Bones between Bill Nelson Rockefeller Clinton. And if you believe that story that his father was killed just with his arm hanging out of a car and he never met him, and this orphaned, mama, poor child from Arkansas become president of the United States, I've got some land I want to sell you. Where do you think? So Hillary and Bill, Rhodes Scholar at Oxford. Everybody that wanted to get rid of this country, the anti-Hamiltonian, the anti-Jeffersonian, he calls himself Jefferson. Don't you love how they do it? He's the opposite of Jefferson. He's opposite of anything patriot. He handed away, signed NAFTA, gave away the whole country. Wasn't that the plan? So Hillary, that Yale, Skull and Bones. Look, dig into Yoko's father, the Japanese bankster for the nuclear cartel. The royal elitists living in Manhattan, isn't that where they all go? Look at Anderson from the Bhopal oil spill. He was convicted in the international courts, convicted all over, the freaking bench warrants for his arrest all over the world. Who protected him? Manhattan. He died last year. He died in October, almost the same day as the hearing. San Onofre. They're not going to do anything. Nobody's going to do anything because it's an illogical freaking kind. They play on it, divide and conquer. You got, the nuclear industry saying just keep making more, just keep making more. And then you got the activists saying, oh, don't deal with the waste. That's exactly what all the activists, I don't say that. It's illogical activism. So, block Yucca Mountain? I got news. Only Congress can make law. Of course, we know that. It's the Patriot Act. Now, think about the Patriot Act. It takes, 2/3 houses in both houses to amend the United States Constitution. Last supposedly 27 amendments. When I get into it, really, it's only 26. But 27 amendments, since the early 90s. Well, the Patriot Act, amendment of the Constitution, even more than that. They would have never got 2/3 houses. And it wouldn't have mattered anyway because the Patriot Act is the new Constitution. The Patriot Act is the new Constitution. Constitution's over. There's no due process. They can do anything they want. And nuclear falls into the Patriot Act. And the TPP is even bigger than that. It gives these guys chances to find a weaker laws. It's all globalist protectionism. It's neo-feudalism. It's all back. So, Yoko says she had an affair with Hillary. Do I think that's true? Yeah. I believe her. Why would I not believe her? Number one, well, how would they possibly know each other? Yoko Ono, you got to realize in the 70s, one of the most famous people in the world. Do you know how famous Yoko Ono was in the 70s? She was married to the most famous man on earth, John Lennon. By the way, I still believe she was involved in the murder. I still believe it. So, she's supposedly Dada. If that's Dada, come on. Max Ernest on Balco. Marcel Duchamp, his ready-mades, she spooked on them. Now, Marcel Duchamp, he was the real deal. Think about those paintings. And so she, take it because she's, what? Because she was born into a bankster, oligarch, pro-nuclear Japanese. Look, the neo-feudalism never stopped in Japan. Look, there's a reason the Japanese, what they did to the rest of the world, for the Asians, 400 years is beyond over the top. Teddy Roosevelt won a real Nobel Prize before he was completely captured. He won a real prize by settling the fight between the Russians, and the Japanese over North Korea in 1905, I believe. They've been trying to imperialize and conquer the world in all the Asian countries for centuries. What they did to the Philippines, what they did to China, what they did to North Korea is beyond atrocities. It's horrific. Shoguns, they have a neo-feudalism system. Kings, they still have them. It's no coincidence why Mussolini, the fascism king, when you break, what is the definition? Fascism didn't come from freaking Austria or Germany. It came from Italy, Mussolini. The blending of, what, corporation with government? And then taking over the media? That's what it came from. You know, we throw the term around so lightly. That's what we're here. We're a neo-feudalism fascist state with an old Soviet Union-type military complex. Well, not old. I mean, technology, all your money, the economy of fear. But isn't that what they did back then? Isn't that what the neo-feudals did back then? Pay the dragon slayer. You go back in history, so they would pay somebody inside the community. You know, usually some young, brave, they'd say, hey, come here. That's where the shield was born. And they would take them out into the wilderness, and, you know, they would go out there on their horse with their sword and come back, cut up, dirty, blood, and claim they were fighting a dragon. There's a dragon. Then the king's freaking tax collectors would ride around through the village and say, we need to pay the dragon slayer. And they were so afraid they handed over everything, including their freaking daughters, their children. They handed over everything. That's what happened here. The economy of fear. They got you so afraid of the boogeyman when there is no boogeyman. 9/11? Really? Mission accomplished. Amazing. Patriot Act, mission accomplished. And if you don't believe me, there are a bunch of royals, George Walker Bush, Walker, right out of the House of Windsor. Put Margaret Thatcher on the 10. Anybody that doesn't understand the dynamic of Alexander Hamilton, and Hamilton led the Battle of Brooklyn. You know, Washington called him the greatest patriot of all, most brilliant man, the first 8 employees of New York, the Coast Guard, blocking cheap Chinese goods coming in. They threw the royals out. I mean, white Anglo-Saxons, I mean, the United States was an English colony. It was an English colony then. It's an English colony now. They got it all back. Russia, they got the Tsar. The new Tsar is Putin. Now, I've heard, and I don't know if this is true, but I've heard some rumors that Putin is probably related, Nicholas. Now, I don't know that's true. I don't know, but they sure got it back. But I want you to Google his billion-dollar house he built recently on the peninsula. Did you see where he patterned it after? Looks just like Versailles. Looks just like it. Now, you got to remember the Prussians and the, Austrian-Hungarian Empire mean battle forever. You know, when I was in northern Denmark, I always wondered, why did my grandparents come here? My grandma come here. My great-grandma wished that little boy. And then this Mormon polygamist got her and another girl with a little boy. What happened to all the men? Then I found out when I was over there. They had another bloody war with the Prussians, and they killed all the men. I mean, it's been going on and on and on and on and on, so it's going on again now. You know, Syria. It's a pawn game to these freaking oligarchs. 1914 in your head, all over again. 1929, all over again. I mean, we're capitulating up to, not going to happen, already happened. But the problem is on nuclear. It's on nuclear waste, so it goes on for time and all eternity. You're born into it. There's no avoiding it. Because this is the baby boomer culture coming off World War II, where they flip the field. The greatest socialist people in the history of mankind, the United States of America, 1945 to 1980. It's a fact. Look it up. Tax rate on the 1%, 94%. Strongest economical, prosperous middle class in human history. Tariffs. You drove GMs and Fords for a reason. Nothing else could get in. People had good jobs. The average American making $106,000 a year in today's dollars in 1975. Average athlete making less than 3 times the average working class. Now, I mean, it's a lottery in America. It's going to be a war. And so they sold you. Just like they did back then. Cinderella, you're going to marry a prince. Pay the dragon slayer. Look, Johnny, you play with that ball, we'll let you be the new court jester. You'll be King James. Who'd want to be? You know what, you watch your people impoverish with all your money, go get gold teeth and freaking dreads from Chinese executed prisoners when you're the son or the great-great-grandson of an antebellum slave? What's the matter with you? Hamilton did the books in the slave trade. He was orphaned. He was that bastard Scottish royals. I love what Adam used to call him. That freaking bastard child. Adams hated him because what? Adams was an elitist royal still. The battle went on. The battle always went on, but there's been lots of times that we won in the United States the great apparition. Through Hamilton, through Jefferson, through Washington. They stood up. It was a war, and they won. The Battle of Brooklyn, Hamilton led. They lost right there at Fort Greene. The biggest funeral in the history of New York City. Every single person turned out in the rain when he was killed by it. He missed on purpose. I'm hoping when I'm there I can go over to Jersey. You know, I'm working with a guy over there. He says he can prove, he can even show you the tree that's still there where he shot on purpose, you know. He was Secretary of the Treasury, the first one. He could have paid himself anything he wanted. He paid himself 0.0. The United States was this new land was so far in debt from the war. You know, it took, you know, Marie Antoinette's money, you know, and it took, you know, Jefferson smooth talking to get the French money. But we still had little old ladies holding paper all over the colonies, you know. Debt. How'd they pay it off? Tariff Act of 1789. Read it. Before the Bill of Rights. You know, Article of Federation, Hambalco. Read it. You know, the constitutional lawyers like Mike Lee, you want to pick and choose? Want to pick and choose? You can't pick and choose. The Constitution's the whole document. The Constitution's over. Illegally? Hell yes, illegally. Patriot Act's an illegal act. TPP's an illegal act. TPP violates the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. It violates the fabric of the Constitution. Violates all of it. How can Congress, only Congress can make law. And Congress passed Yucca Mountain. So you're passing a law now through the TPP, which is all shrouded in nuclear, and I can prove it. When no one's seen it. Even the senators are only allowed to go in there for freaking an hour. No one's seen it. No one's read it, and you're going to vote on something? I mean, that's what kings and monarchs do. Executive order, Obama's been signing it left and right. Executive orders are illegal. All of them. Not my words, the freaking Supreme Court. You know, the dissension in the Bush-Gore. You know, all of it. He writes, you know, I believe it's Justice Byers writes. Everything this court passes, I mean, Bush did not win. He appointed Alito and Roberts, thus makes it an illegal court. Everything they rule will be retried in history. Mark my words, I'll be dead and gone. You probably will be too. You know, this country freaking, if it survives, which that's very unlikely at this point, reeling out of control debt. You know, it's like Trump. He's all about protection. As he talks protection, but then he wears hats made in China. He wears suits made in China. You know, I mean, it's just like the immigration problem. That should have been dealt with 20 years ago. When you started letting people pay cash, it was against the law to pay people cash. This is all about redistribution of wealth. This is all about pressure on labor. Gut labor, gut labor, gut labor. We don't need new laws. Enforce the ones that exist. But that thing happened. So now the 50 million so-called illegals have been here for freaking 20 years. Kids born and raised here. They are America now. The conversation should have been dealt with 20, but no, that's what baby boomers do. They kick the can. It's like nuclear waste. Where were you 40 years ago when the fight was happening? We struck a deal. With the Yucca Mountain deal was struck. Look, if it had been the Yucca Mountain 30, 40 years ago, it had been that they'd already progressed. There's enough technology and enough intelligent people and smart people that freak would have been incentivized to find out how to get it into space. And people say, oh, you shoot it in space, it's going to come. No, it's not. They have technology to shoot it so far away out of this atmosphere and this orbit system. A horrible idea? Of course it's a horrible idea. Yucca Mountain, a horrible idea? Of course. You know, a horrible idea. But it doesn't matter. Congress passed that horrible idea. Only Congress can make law. And it is representative government. If you don't like it, go to your congressman. And bitch, you don't even know who he is. Run against him. You don't have a political process here. Broken? You broke it. Because you refuse to participate in your own community. You refuse everybody. Everybody in America, they've got so much to blame. Even I do. You know, I blame myself. You know, we went down paths and, you know, I thought for a long time, do not kid yourself. This horrible monster's here. I mean, you have to deal with the ugly, ugly reality. And the reality is ugly. And this whole bullshit that you think there's cures for cancer, this guy, go smoke some weed, eat some egg. You're so full of shit. I'm so sick of hearing it. You know, people die a day in this country from this evil disease. Some of the smartest, most dynamic, richest, wealthiest, incredible people in the world. I mean, I can rattle them off. I mean, wealthy, smart, dynamic, strong, do everything right. Still mows them down. Have access to anything and everything. Alternative medicines, everything. You know, it's just feel good, comfort zone. Oh, this nuclear, the catastrophe of Fukushima is not that bad. What? It's the greatest ecological catastrophe in human history. I mean, it's ongoing. Oh, they've been exposed. 39% of them were exposed to X amount of 1 million millisieverts. Are you kidding? All of them were. So are you. It's just propaganda. And they don't even have to put it out. The DOE, Freight Department of Energy, as evil they are, because they rely on the feel-gooders out there. They know people will try to make themselves feel better so they can go to sleep, so they, pop their pills, whatever. They know that. So they do it for them. Oh, I'm going to, smoke some weed. I'm not going to get cancer. Oh, this nuclear is not that bad. It won't happen to me. Oh, you're all crazy. And then they spin it into fairy tale land. Oh, meteor's going to hit the earth and end. Sell books. World's come to an end. Sell books. I mean, you think about YouTube. Now, you think about this, really, honestly. I want you, all these people, a lot of them had giant viewership, the fear porners. The fear porners have had gigantic freaking, a meteor's always going to hit. Solar flare is going to kill us all. Freaking, Y12, all of it. Well, we have YouTube now since 2006-07. So they've recorded themselves in history. So go forward 10 years. And people are going to look back. Do you know what fools are? Do you know what fool Max Kaiser is going to look like? When their answer was gold. Now, Alex Jones, don't get me wrong, I like his work a lot. He's exposed a lot of truths. He's done a lot of great work. But it's the answer. That's what's going to ruin them. People are going to look back and say, fuck, these guys were telling you to fucking sell everything you had and buy fucking silver and hunker down at fucking $40, gold at $1,900. You'll buy another house, bullets and fucking gun. What are you going to do, shoot radioisotopes out of the air? That was the answer? Really? People are going to look back at it. Oh, meteor's going to end. This girl's writing the books. Oh, Mormon. It was written in the fucking concert hall studio walls. Don't put me down as arrogant. So my mind is not for rent. Then it doesn't happen. Oh, bye. See ya. Go on. Take the money and run. Ooh-la. It's amazing. Fear porn. But it's recorded. The Internet's recorded, and you think you're going to take it down? Ha! Good luck. Somebody's got it. It's illogical. We don't have logical activism. I'm a logical activist. Very logical. In the reality. I tell all this in real time. I don't wait. I'm not Chris Hedges and Naomi Klein going to write a book. I'm not a war profiteer. No. I'm about life. One day at a time. So, what, I guess I call them post-ignorant generation, which are 35 and under. I didn't turn them out many, many years ago. The post-ignorance generation, they'll deal with it, not because they want to, because they have to. Just look at the debt, for God's sakes. Wars you don't want to pay for. 0% interest rate. You don't care. Inflation is going to happen. Already happened. Instead of freaking, doubling the price of food, they just cut the portions in half. They've had you. It's like unemployment. Are you kidding? Look at the way they count unemployment. Unemployment, you have to actively be on unemployment. If you went off unemployment, this thing's gone off for a long time. It's called the participation rate. Lowest in history. The cash economy in the United States is bigger than the real economy. Much bigger. It's impoverished. It's a third world country. Has all the hallmarks of a third world country with a massive, grotesque military, a bully. It's just extorted. It's just extorted through Congress, the economy of fear for wealth. These CEOs and these defense contractors, they don't care. This is a board game to these people, just like it was in 1914, just like it was 500 years ago in Egypt. I won't stop there. I mean, that's all it is. It's a board game. And look at it. Don't you love it how the royals in England and the Russian royals, the elites, the czars, they always fight. They always fight until it comes right down to when the royals are going to get flipped and they join forces. Like they did at Waterloo 200 years ago. I was at the UN. I think it's so irony I was at the UN on the 200th anniversary of Waterloo protesting. I bought a shirt, made by wool at Waterloo in Vienna. It's amazing. They've joined forces. They did it in World War II. Of course, they needed to in World War II. That whole dynamic went crazy. You think it's a coincidence? Hitler, he was a puppet. But think about it. The Japanese threw in them imperialists. They think they're the pure race. What about the Swedes? Forget about them. All nuclear. It's the same old players. They threw in. Only half of Italy did. Only half of Spain did. Full blown out civil wars. That incredible artist, he painted, after they bombed that village, he painted that painting in black and white. Toured it around. That's what artists do. Use whatever they the medium, their mode, whatever platform they can find, whatever niche they can get. They do whatever. They scrape and scrape and freaking pick and just do whatever they got to do. Try to get the form of communicate. Michelangelo. Holy Moses, 500 years ago right now. That's what they do. Civil War in Spain, Civil War in Italy. I think there's so many Italians here. They had to flee. They had no choice. That or be killed. Remember when we were kids? CBS. Franco was still alive. He was on his deathbed for years. I want you to really think about this. When Walter Cronkite broke ranks, the greatest reporter, probably in 100 years, maybe longer than that, maybe ever in the history of the country, that broke the military complex. The only people that ever did it, the baby boomers. What happened to all you people, the peace activists? Dan Rather goes into Vietnam with the troops, shows America the bloodbath and the reality of what's really going on. Walter Cronkite breaks ranks, tells them to fuck off, his handlers, whatever, and puts it on the news. Because he was so beloved and America had a conscience. Because America had his back. And the whole country was aghast. They're like, oh my God. Without Dan Rather's work, that never happens. One of the greatest activists in human history. So Dan Rather, an icon in America, in world history. A giant, one of the greatest activists who ever walked. On CBS News says that George W. Bush is a draft dodger. When George W. Bush is a draft dodger. He's fired for telling the truth by the English. Rupert Murdoch's run out of Herschel with Operation Foxconn, which there's no doubt in my mind that that's where it's being run out of. The CIA, the military is completely captured by the English, this American colony, the English colony called the United States. That English woman fires him. CBS News Desk is right out of the House of Windsor. All of them are. The British invasion, and I don't mean the Beatles. Yoko Ono, wow. The woman who stopped the music. And I hear people all the time, oh yeah, anybody that think, boy, did we forget? Yoko Ono, one of the most famous people in the world. Yoko Ono in the 1970s, the most hated person on the face of the earth. Bar none. They broke up in 70s? Bar none. Yoko Ono, the most hated person on the earth. Who's one of the most hated people on the earth right now? Hillary Clinton. Skull and Bones. Hillary, Westinghouse, Skull and Bones, Clinton. They were having sex together? Well, it makes perfectly rational, good sense to me. Hooked up just like the arranged marriage between Bill and Hillary. Bill and Hillary never loved each other because those people are incapable of loving. Do you think Yoko loved John Lennon? She's incapable. She infiltrated. She infiltrated with all her daddy's fucking money and fucking wealth. The music stopped. The day it all ended. That fucking rat killed him. I've done work right there at the Dakota. I've stood right there in that very square inch. Very hallowed. There's a great photograph out there of me doing push-ups on Lennon's tomb. He was an amazing guy. Now, of course, he abandoned his child. Julian. Hey, Jude. Hey, Jude was written, Hey, Jules. That's Julian Lennon. Because he left Julian's mama. Julian Lennon's own word says this. When my dad, I got the news that my father was killed. That night on Monday Night Football, Dolphins versus Patriots. I'm laying there. That's the night my oldest daughter was conceived. Well, how do you know that? Don't two people have to have sex together to have a child? Don't you think I can remember that? Laying there, and I'm like, oh no, oh my God, oh no. The most famous man in America is dead. She was the most hated person on earth. You think about Cosell. Cosell was cool and smart as a cucumber, that cat. You remember his voice that night? You bring up Frank Gifford's gone now. Remember Frank's voice that night? But Howard knew him personally. You know how rattled he was? You know how emotionally rattled this country was? Imagine that. It's an outrage. And now the woman's just going to kiss her ass and kiss her ass, and she's, well, isn't that the perfect icon? And don't get me wrong, you know, I don't badmouth her art per se. That was the day that he was killed. That's Dada on Balco? I guess, as I do my set. I did a whole set of ready-made in honor of Marcel Duchamp. You know, Marcel Duchamp in that great interview says, too, you know, in the 60s, when they're all over him, that curator who was so brilliant, so smart, found him. And that's the problem. We don't have any smart curators anymore. Not my words, head of the moment. They burn their passes. You know, I protest there all the time. He says, I don't know why you're all interested in me now. 30 years, you wouldn't even talk to me. But he was the gatekeeper. Marcel Duchamp had the keys to the community. Ask Jackson Pollock. You know, what I read, I'll tell you how I read and how I find out a lot of my information. I don't read anything the media puts out. I mean, I'll watch the knee-jerk propaganda bullshit. I read PhDs. Now, if you can find them. You know, isn't that what happened to Aaron Swartz? Aaron Swartz, you think about the two brilliant young progressives, John Kennedy Jr. and Aaron Swartz. Dead. Wow. Aaron Swartz, a fellow. I mean, propped up, brilliant, dynamic, but he was breaking ranks. So it was the MIT. Why would it be the MIT Media Lab covering up all this stuff? As Aaron Swartz said, this is federal taxpayer. This is illegal. You can't cover that. This belongs to the people. You know, and he was willing to do a little bit of time in jail. But they were going to give him 35 years for that. So when Abe, the prime minister, the CIA American nuclear cartel's puppet in Japan, comes over here, why would he possibly go to Harvard, a private institution? But then that day, unannounced, sneaks over to MIT Media Lab? Why? Why? Oh, MIT runs the freaking Fukushima cover-up. They're the head of the snake. Cal Berkeley, MIT Media Lab. The people that had him killed, the power that they have, stand up to them. I still say they killed John Kennedy. I still say the nuclear state killed freaking John Lennon. I still say it, and I'll stand behind it. Do I know that positively? No. But all roads lead to nuclear. You know, and that's how they play. Ask Karen Silkwood. How about Nora Epstein? Remember when Nora made Silkwood? You know how many death threats she got? You know, because Hollywood's captured. She did it anyway. How come Meryl Streep did not win the Academy Award? Because she played Karen Silkwood. One of the greatest acting performances in history. Should have been hand down, slam dunk, win the freaking Academy Award. Of course not. They're captured. All the money. All the king's fucking men and women. Humpty Dumpty will never put them back again. So, she doesn't win. She got cancer the same time I did, right after Fukushima. Don't you think it's an incredible irony she died of leukemia? You know how many death threats that woman had? Yeah, that's her. That's her, the famous writer, whatever. Wow. It's amazing how they all go. You know, you break culture, you do in culture, somehow you go. Very sad. Where do we go from here? I don't know. I mean, I'm to the point that we're recording history now. My survival of cancer, I mean, it's an amazing story, but God, we just pile on and we pile on and we pile on. We have no logic. I do. You know, like I said when I led the Million Mass March, I led the inauguration. I gave the first speech. We've got answers. We're not about quantity. You know, I was asked in an interview. That's when you see my speech gets cut off. I was asked in an interview, well, Occupy had millions. I don't care. It's not about quantity. It's about quality. We need leaders with answers. I've got answers. Stand tuned. We'll continue the conversation on Thursday. I'm going to shoot a video right now. Put it up. What a war we got on our hands. I don't know where we go here. You know, one day at a time.
All nuclear fighters, all hands on deck, all hands on deck, all hands on deck. All nuclear fighters, all hands on deck, all hands on deck, all hands on deck. They'll be calling you a radical. Twin Gate 3